off, we were talking, come here, kitty, about Yorktown. All right, kitty. Get down then. Okay. Let's get to Yorktown. It's coming. Yorktown's here. Okay, so Yorktown is sort of the end game for the British. Cornwallis establishes this base at Yorktown. The British Navy still outnumbered the French and American navies, and Cornwallis figures he can get resupplied and go back on the offensive. Washington and the French devised this plan to keep Cornwallis in Yorktown and the British in New York. This is especially vital because the British fleet had won control of the Chesapeake Bay. So Washington agrees to strike Yorktown with Lafayette, with the Marquis de Lafayette, but he tricks the British into thinking he's going to New York, starts to move troops into New York. The British start to move troops into New York to meet him, but instead he abruptly turns south and joins up with Lafayette and attacks Yorktown. About 17,000 Americans, mostly French allies, probably about 12,000 of them French allies, versus about 7,000 British. Cornwallis was helpless. He's under siege. Here's Yorktown here in Virginia. He realizes that he's not going to be able to win. So he holds out until 17th of October, 1781, when the cooling weather led him to ask for terms. On October 19th, the British laid down their arms. Lafayette told the band to play a song called Yankee Doodle to symbolize the American victory. The British band played something to the effect of the world is falling down. This is Washington back here with the Marquis de Lafayette. So the defeat at Yorktown confirmed the existence of the United States. At the same time, Britain was suffering defeat in the Mediterranean, and the national debt had been doubled by fighting the war. This made it difficult for the British to accept that they were defeated and make peace, because it meant that they would have to accept that their national debt had been doubled for no reason. So US and France vowed to make peace with the British together, to negotiate together, not to negotiate separate pieces. Spain was allied with France, however, not America. So there's a bit of a problem working that out. Benjamin Franklin, John J. Adams, and T.J. Henry Lawrence, together with Vergennes, had interests of France in mind in the negotiation process. Benjamin Franklin, seeking to achieve some benefits for France, didn't push the American view as much as he could or should have. Benjamin Franklin, to be honest, spent most of his time in France with his French mistress, and developed, this new appreciation for France. A part of his leaning toward France in this negotiation process may have been personal. He also wanted to reconcile with the British. He wanted the British to have an alliance with the United States, in addition to acknowledging American independence. So the British had to acknowledge the United States by name, and their boundaries were set at the Great Lakes, the Mississippi River, and North Florida. The Americans could fish Newfoundland, and the British would be able to withdraw troops unmolested. Vergennes was very upset because he was hoping to work out this peace treaty that would have benefited France more than the Americas. So something like, say, the Mississippi River, he wanted turned over to France. And he didn't necessarily want the Americans able to fish Newfoundland, which up until very recently had been French territory. So the result was the Americans had learned to play one power against the other by holding out the sort of carrot of alliance with the British. in exchange for recognition, they were able to get more of a concession from the British and less of a Franco-centric peace. That's pretty much the end of this lecture. The things you need to be aware of in terms of this lecture are not necessarily the battles themselves. I don't need you to talk about troop movements or anything like that, but you should know, Saratoga was an American victory, and you should know why it was important. Why was it important? That's something you should be able to explain to me. You should know about Yorktown. Why was Yorktown important? How did Washington win Yorktown? You should be able to tell me that. What about the Treaty of Paris? How did it look like a bad deal for America and end up a good deal? How were the Americans initially outnumbered? And how did the early American victories resemble more moral victories than strategic victories? And how was the entrance of France into the war beneficial to the Americans? These are the kind of things I want you to think about. And later I'm going to post not necessarily a study guide, but sort of the themes and concepts you need to focus on for your midterm. Once this is posted, watch at your leisure, and all of your work is due next week for the midterm. Remember, next week is your spring break, and the week after that is our midterm. Okay? So hope everyone has a good night, and I'll see you soon.